with that, I want to say I'm very privileged to have Governor Pawlenty here. And he just flew in, by the way. The guy is a hard worker. Flew in just to speak for us. And I am so privileged.
Well, I had to come back home
And he's probably getting ready to have supper, so we want to let him speak, and then so he could go on and do what he wants to do. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. Picture. Well, I am delighted to be here tonight, and I am reminded of the true story of this welder in suburban Chicago who was working on a water tower in the late 1990s. It was over 100 feet in the air. He had a safety harness on. He was on a piece of scaffolding. He reached for a tool that he couldn't quite reach, and so he unwisely unbuckled his safety harness, reached for the tool, and unfortunately fell all the way to the ground, 110 feet face down, but into a soft pile of dirt. And he lived, and he was bruised and battered, but as the paramedics arrived and scrambled to get him, and they put him up on a gurney that was no more than 3 or 4 feet off the ground, and as they were wheeling him to the ambulance, he was overheard saying, "Don't drop me, don't drop me." And, the reason I share that story with you is because the Republican Party in St. Paul and Minnesota and nationally, I think, has fallen about as far as it can. And I don't think we need to worry about falling further, because I think the way forward is going to be more positive and optimistic for our party. And you're going to see, I think, in St. Paul and Minnesota and across the country, a return to some common sense values that I think the people in this room appreciate and respect and support. You're starting to see a national concern around spending that is out of control, spending that's not prioritized, spending that's not effective. We have President Obama recently on a show saying that the country doesn't have any more money. If the country doesn't have any more money, he should stop spending it. I think the government should also quit treating all of us like helpless ninnies who can't do anything for ourselves. We're a nation of courageous patriots founded on a principle of liberty, and we need to take care of those who can't take care of themselves. But beyond that, we also have to ask people to be self-responsible and to be able to participate in ways that allow them to take care of themselves. And that's partly training and education and providing an environment where they can do that, but it's also trying to inspire them and ask them and encourage them to do it, and it takes leadership. And so our party, I think, is going to come back for a variety of reasons. One is we have the right ideas and the right values, but as importantly, we need the right candidates who embody those values and principles, and we need candidates who can effectively communicate the message, because if people tune you out, the ability to lead, in part, is the ability to inform, the ability to educate, the ability to inspire, the ability to mobilize. And so you need candidates that draw people in and can grow the movement and also be an effective face and voice for what we're trying to get done. So I'm very pleased that Eva is running. I think the face and voice of the Republican Party, particularly in areas that are becoming more and more diverse. It's important that we have candidates and leaders that reflect that change, but still are true to our values and principles, and she is one of those candidates. I think she's one of the most exciting, positive candidates that we have in the state of Minnesota. And it would be nice to have a mayor of St. Paul who isn't just whining all the time. I jokingly said on the radio show a few weeks ago that what's the last building built in downtown St. Paul without a public subsidy? Ooh. Anybody know the answer?
No.
No.
Cathedral?
The cathedral, yes. So we said this jokingly on the radio show. And Chris Coleman's media person takes it seriously, thinks we're serious. He rifles off a response and a press release, and he says the governor's wrong. It wasn't the cathedral. The cathedral, by the way, was built in the 1850s, and he says the governor's wrong. There have been 22 projects since then. Since the downtown. But obviously, St. Paul is a wonderful town. It's got a great history. It's got great assets. But we need somebody who understands the transformational change and leadership opportunity that the city presents. And The city, for too often recently, has been run by kind of older style Democrat machine type leaders, and the world's changing very rapidly. And we need people who are more entrepreneurial, more dynamic, more forward-leaning, and recognize that you can't have an economy, whether it's in St. Paul or in the state or nationally, that's built on government stuff. You have to have people in the private sector who are willing to take risks, be entrepreneurs, deploy capital, build buildings, add jobs, buy capital equipment, and do all the things it takes to keep an economy going, because that allows the revenues and the opportunities for government to do the important things that it needs to do. But you can't build an economy around the premise that government is going to, we're going to keep everybody employed and have an economy built around government buildings, government services, government everything. And St. Paul is our capital city. To some degree it's going to be a government town, but you can't have it be only a government town. It needs to be more than that. And Eva understands that, and I'm very excited about your candidacy. So this is the start. You know, we're just starting the race, and I'm excited about your commitment to get 500 signs out. I have a fond memory when I ran for the Egan City Council. I think I was taking down signs in November. I was running across a 4-lane county road. It was rain-soaked. I was wet. My brothers were helping me. We had 500 signs probably to take down with like 3 people. Who everybody likes to put them up, but not too many want to take them down. And I fell face down in this road. And so I was laying face down on this road with my knees and arms skunned. And I looked up only to see headlights coming on the county road. And I just thought for that brief instant, how have I sunk so low? So that's what you have to look forward to.
Courage.
Yeah. Absolutely right. Well, thank you for coming tonight, and I don't want to go on, but if there are any questions or comments, I'll be happy to take them. But Eva needs your help. This is hard to do. You know, it's a state that unfortunately lurches to the left. St. Paul lurches even a little harder to the left. And to have brave and courageous people stand up and say, I'm willing to represent these values and principles. I'm willing to take a chunk of my talents and gifts and abilities and time and dedicate myself to try to make a positive difference for this city. That's what she's willing to do. And for those of us who can help with our time and resources, talents, and efforts, we should do that. And so thank you for pulling alongside Eva. And now let's multiply this and get more people to help. Jamie mentioned he was going to run or is interested in running in St. Paul as well. So thank you. Thank you very much for that. We appreciate it. And we're going to be able to rebuild this party person by person, block by block, city by city. And it's not going to start because we all just throw our hands up in the air and say, oh, it's hopeless. You know, we can't win on the west side. We can't win in St. Paul. Let's just give up. Hogwash. You know, Rudy Giuliani didn't just give up in New York. I mean, back then they'd say, you know, no Republican can get elected in New York. There was a time Richard Riordan got elected in L.A. and Newark, New Jersey, we had a Republican mayor. And you can go around the city or the country and find places where they needed reform, they needed change, they needed improvement, they needed accountability, and even though they're overwhelmingly Democratic places, they turned to the Republicans and said, we want something new, we want to try something different. And so our job is to make sure we get up and put in the effort. And want to make sure that we do all we can for Eva. So thanks for coming tonight, I appreciate it very much.